The agenda setting function of the mass media remains one of the most important ways which the media influence public opinion and perception. In plain talk, the amount of time or space a newspaper, radio, or television station gives in reporting an event or a story may rightly or wrongly determine the level of attention and consciousness that story assumes in the minds of people. Two major tragedies happened within days of each other. On the 14th of June, a migrant ship with about 750 passengers on board sank off the coast of Greece in the Mediterranean Sea. On June 18, a submarine capsule transporting 5 persons to the undersea wreck of the Titanic exploded, killing all 5 passengers on board. But how has the media reported both incidents? This is what we are about to explore. Welcome to Deepening the Conversation, a weekly diary on life and politics written by Azu Ishiekwene. Our review today is based on the article Titan and Migrants, Two Tragedies, Different Stories. It is an interesting conversation that educates, broadens our perspectives on the Nigerian, African, and global realities. Again, it puts the media on the spot. Let's engage with Azu about what he has written and why he has written what he has written. You're welcome to the show, Mr. Azu.
Thank you for having me again, Julius.
I have read your column for this week on migrants and titans, and I'll just say it's not just interesting, it is super. And I have a few questions I would like to ask you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So, despite the UNESCO intervention with the Sean McBride Commission more than 40 years ago, the gulf between the global north and the global south in media reportage continues to widen. It's many voices and different worlds. Remember, Sean McBride's reports came out as many voices, one world, so to speak. If you now throw the social media and their ownership in the fray, will there ever be a change in terms of how the North and the South report?
Well, thank you once again for having me, Julius. The McBride Commission, which you referenced, was actually a response by the Global South, or what you call the developing countries, about what was then described as information loop-sidedness. And the complaint, of course, was against the North. And UNESCO then thought that there was a need to to commission a study and to see what possible solutions existed. And of course, Mike Bride made this, and the commission made a series of suggestions about how, the communication can be, which is what it is, should be two-way. But then to your question about what has happened since then. Of course, a lot has happened. We may not have moved as swiftly or as equitably, if you like, as McBride and members of his commission would have wished us to. But a lot has happened since the McBride Commission. And yes, I mean, social media has also significantly, with globalization and what have you, has significantly democratized, if you like, democratized the space. The cost of entry, these days is not what it used to be like when you had only far fewer number of players in the field. So I believe that social media has in some ways, in some very positive ways, also helped to democratize the space, but there's still a whole lot more to do.
Of greater concern is not just the bias of the foreign press, but also the ignorance and misleading narratives, such as the coverage of Nigeria's elections, recent elections, which are further amplified and regurgitated by the local press. As an authority in the industry, what do you think is the way forward? How do we get out of this one?
Well, I do not think that when the foreign networks, especially the big foreign networks, go out to cover elections, or when as journalists we go out to cover events, we do so on the basis of some sort of tabula rasa. When the foreign press comes to cover an event, they clearly have an agenda, they have an interest. And of course, part of the coverage, however objective we might wish them to be, part of what happens ultimately is that they execute that agenda or that bias. And whether it's for the coverage of elections, or whether it's the coverage of the Titan and the migrant crisis, which we are talking about, that plays out over and over again. So it's nothing new, and it's nothing new at all.
Okay, this is about the third article you have written this year, calling out the press generally to be fair and equitable. Can we just adopt the Chinese model? Can we just say adopt a model which say the press discusses the society within the context of the peculiarities of that society?
Well, I do not know about adopting the Chinese model, um, because that also will come with its own baggage, that will have its own limitations. But I think that as journalists, there are standards which we should hold ourselves to in terms of reportage. But as I said, you see, it's not, nobody is going to serve this to you on a platter. Okay, it's nobody's going to serve it to you on a platter. And when you refer to my previous articles in which I challenge journalists, including myself, of course, and civil society to do more, it's not, it's the fact that we have to. It's not just about equity; it's also about taking ownership, right? It's about taking ownership of your own story and telling your own story. We cannot keep complaining all the time that we are being shabbily treated by foreign presses. We also have, in our own way, in our own little corner, we also have to, I believe, as journalists who are either in the global south or in Africa or in Nigeria, we also have to take responsibility for telling our story. And uh, those who also have successful businessmen, um, will also have to put their money where their mouth is in terms of investments, solid investment in media. I think that that's also important, and that would help um, also in the storytelling that we're talking about.
And now let's take the Titan crisis and the migrant shipwreck in context. Do you think status and money perhaps played a role in the different levels of coverage? Everyone knows something about the Titan submarine capsule, which sank off the coast of Greece. But sorry, the Titan submarine capsule, everyone appears to know that it was called the Titan and it sank and five people died. We even know their names. Nobody knows the name of the ship carrying 750 migrants which sank in the Mediterranean Sea. This is beyond stereotyping, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely. And interestingly, I got a feedback to my article by a very well a knowledgeable colleague who a knowledgeable senior colleague who read it obviously and said to me, and I never would have believed that that would come from this person until I got this message saying, you know what? I didn't even know anything happened of the Greece, coast. Of course, the migrant, and
On the
that
Mediterranean
yes,
Sea.
but of the Mediterranean Sea. But of course, as you say, I don't know of many people who have not heard of, or who probably who do not know a number of the unfortunate victims of the Titan implosion by name. So, well, this is the reality and the interesting contrast, which very stark and obscene contrast, as Barack Obama said, which I also referenced in the piece, is that while you had two British Pakistanis, the Dawoods, of course, who died in the Titan implosion, there were over 300 Pakistanis who died in the
The
boat.
unnamed ship.
Yes, the unnamed ship and the unnameable ship, so to speak. And these are all Pakistanis, but first and foremost, they're human beings. But who is going to? Nobody would ever remember them, so to speak. Of course, except of course the immediate families that were affected by that disaster. And it just tells you, I mean, you can then see the stark difference between tourists, or people who are on expedition, who went on a particular expedition, each of who was willing to pay $250,000 to go on it, versus economic migrants, people who were just, all they were doing is just
looking for better opportunities.
Yeah, looking for better opportunities elsewhere. You just see this stark contrast, and the media response, especially the response of the major foreign networks, follows that trend. It just follows the money, and it's really, really sad, to be honest.
Well, and then coming back to our local press, perhaps our local media, do you think it is time to review curriculum for mass communication? Should we redefine journalism as not just blood, wars, bad news, sad news, or man-biting dog?
Well, I think that it's an ongoing conversation, about the current curriculum of journalism, most journalism schools, or newspaper houses and the media house, and it's a healthy conversation to have. Whether but I think we should also keep in mind that the curriculum and the content of what is taught in polytechnics or in universities or wherever journalism is taught, one should ordinarily expect that these things will change and evolve over time, because otherwise the products of such process become totally irrelevant to society.
Is there anything you would like to say further to deepen the conversation on this topic?
Well, I think I'd like to end by, of course, our heartfelt condolences go to all the families, whether they are families of the members or those who are victims of the Titan, or those, unfortunately, over 500 people who died of the
Coastal Breeze.
of the coastal breeze. It's really sad. I mean, these are human tragedies, and quite sad whenever they happen. But we do hope and pray that as media, as journalists, and as human beings first and foremost, that in reporting such tragedies in future, we would also, because you of course remember what happened in 2002 in Senegal.
Yes,
The
Jola.
the Jola, and it's not anywhere in the global calendar of disasters, because it happened, of course, where it happened. I think it's important, and this is where I learned finally, to know that whether it's in disasters or it's in heartwarming stories, we're first and foremost human beings affected by the things that happen all around us, and we should always keep that in mind.
All right, thank you very much. Conversation with Azu is about the most syndicated newspaper column of any Nigerian writer and commentator, primarily featured on leadership and Vanguard newspapers every Friday. Its footprints are to be found in online media platforms, including Premium Times, The Cable, The Interview Magazine, Neptune Prime, News Chronicles, and a couple of others. It's further published by Clarín of Argentina, City Press, Daily Maverick, Mail, and Guardian of South Africa, and Daily Graphic of Ghana. If you really want to get the gist on social, political, economic, and other human interest topics, take some time and read the full content of the column at azuishiekwene.com. I take that again, azuishiekwene.com. And you won't be disappointed. Visit our social media interfaces on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and leave your likes and comments. Above all, don't forget to share. Thanks for the conversation, Mr. Azu.
Thank you for having me once again, Julius. Thank you.
Bye for now.